Hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Successful Servant Leader podcast. I am your host, Victoria Grace, wife, mother, faith mentor, small business strategist, business consultant, student, behavior consultant, and most importantly, successful servant leader. And I'm very excited to be getting into today's episode. This is really going to be kind of like a catch-up episode or a what's been going on type of episode. It's been about 4 weeks and 4 days, actually 7 days. So 5 weeks almost since we had our last podcast episode, and it was part 1 of your calling, and God kind of had to stop me right there. He had to stop me in my tracks, and he had to, first of all, speak to me and kind of ask me, like, what are you doing here? And if you have been keeping up with me, I thank you so much. And when I say keeping up with me, I mean, you're a part of the tribe. You may follow me on Instagram. You may have seen some of my posts, gotten some of my emails within the last 4.5 weeks. And, you know that I haven't not been working. I haven't not been doing what he's called me to do. I just haven't been posting the podcast. And there's a reason for that. A couple things. First things first is that my mic just will not work at all for my computer. I don't know if it's the adapter for my mic that will not work with my computer, or if it's just my mic not working anymore. When I try to use the mic on my husband's computer, it seems to work fine, but there's still like some technical difficulties. But when I plug it up to my computer, it's just like a no-go at all. That's first things first. Secondly, I just wasn't into recording in the car the last few weeks. It just hasn't been working out for me, you guys. It just hasn't been working. And then you guys know that I am living in a construction zone. And so it has just been a lot going on. But the most important thing is that God has been asking me, Victoria, what are you doing? First, really, he's been saying, who do you think you are? I'm going to keep it real with you guys. This is the Successful Servant Leader podcast, and I'm going to share with you exactly what God has shared with me. So, like I said, this is kind of like a catch-up, updates, what's going to be going on type of thing. And I know that we had one of these, I think, earlier this year, but I'm for real this time. At this point, there have been some batch recorded episodes, and I'm so happy about that. And I'm so grateful to God about that. And so you don't have to worry about ghosting you guys or anything like that. That is long gone. And I just want to say thank you. If you are listening to this, thank you for trusting me to even penetrate your mind and your heart by listening to this audio. Whenever you listen to this audio, whether you listen to every episode or whether you listen here and there, whether you have shared it or not, thank you so much for trusting me. And so with that trust, I have to be honest with you, and I have to share with you what's been going on the last 4.5 weeks. And God has made me reevaluate who I am, or not really reevaluate, but kind of step outside the box and look at me as a whole. We started, like I said, the last episode was your calling part 1, but I was talking about your calling in the sense of, I talked about it outside of the sense of business, but I was continuing to talk about business. And like I said, if you've been following me, then you know that I just posted a couple days ago, a blog post, and it's titled Surrendering is Hard. So if you haven't read that already, it's not long. Go check that out. Surrendering is hard. And I think that may be what the title of this episode will be as well, because Surrendering is hard, especially when you have a vision in your carnal mind, in your flesh. You have an idea and God gives you a blueprint and he gives you what he gives you. And then you take your own ideas and your flesh and you kind of mesh those things together. And you're like, but wait, God, what do you mean I'm not doing what you wanted me to do? What do you mean? What's going on? And he's just like, who do you think you are? You want to try to derail from what I said for you to do. And it's not that you can't continue doing what I told you to do initially, but it's like, this is where this particular resource is supposed to go. So yes, I am allowed to talk business on this platform, but also being a successful servant leader, which I have said so many times in all 38 episodes of this podcast. I've said it so many times. Being a successful servant leader has nothing to do with finances and it has nothing to do with business. You are called to be a successful servant leader. You and we're called to be successful servant leader in all areas of our lives, in the area of being a wife, in the area of being a parent, in the area of being a daughter or a son, in the area of being a student, in the area of whatever your job title is at your 9 to 5 or in your career, whatever your title is within your business. I am called to be successful servant leader in all of these areas of life. And so I was trying to make this podcast all about business. So every time I would talk to you guys, I'm like, yeah, this can definitely go for life or business, but let's talk about more business, because that was where my mind was. And that was where my business was, right? And so I'm like, well, duh, God must want me to talk about business. This just must be what it is. And that's just not the case. And so, surrendering is hard, because what he continued to show me time and time again was that I don't need you to focus solely on the business aspect. People will come to you for the business, to help them build their business, to start their businesses, to create their signature offers. They'll come to you for that. But the majority of the people are coming to you because their mindset is not right, because their faith is not where it should be, because they have amazing ideas, because they know they've been called to break generational curses. They know they've been called to break generational wealth, and not just in a financial way, but generational spiritual wealth. They know they've been called to do these things, but they don't know how, or they don't have an example of that. And there's nobody around them that they know that is even talking about anything like this. And for whatever reason, they're going to be introduced to your podcast or to your Instagram or to your YouTube or whatever the case is. And I need you to be talking about them or talk to them in a way that leads them directly to me. Yeah, you can speak on the business. Yeah, you can speak on, anything else. I think what I'll start doing, so that you guys still get those business tips and things like that, is maybe I'll do like mailbag episodes or, Q&A episodes or something like that, where, I could talk about that. But for the most part, being successful servant leader, I did an application for something earlier today. And of course, however it goes, I'll definitely be sharing with you guys. But I told them, in short, that the purpose of my company is to help women, specifically mothers, to build the confidence that they need to be the successful servant leader, the wealth builder, and the generational curse breaker they were called to be. And my company cannot do that if I'm only focused on helping them build businesses from scratch. I cannot do that if my only focus of the company is helping individuals to build businesses, because then they think that the business is what gives them that freedom. Then they think that the business is what gives them hope. They think that the business is what's going to give them the financial wealth generationally. They think that the business is like the sole provider, right? When really God is the sole provider for everything. you get your mind right, you get your heart right, the wealth financially and spiritually will follow. You bow down and you worship the God who created you, the God of all gods, the King of kings, the Lord of lords, the money, the whatever else, the joy, pure joy, right? Not just happiness, right? Because happiness is something that can be taken away. The joy, pure joy, nobody can take that away. And that only comes from the Father. And so that is what I wanted to come and share with you guys today and kind of give you an update to let you know, of course, what's been going on. Like I said, if you haven't already, please go check out the blog. If you haven't already, check out the blog. Because like I said, God been snatching your girl up. He been pulling out the edges. He been doing all types of stuff. And the only thing that I could do was write. Only thing I could do was write. So check out the blog. Check out some of my recent Instagram posts. If you are like, let me see, like, what was she going through the last few weeks, last 4.5 weeks. Check out some of my Instagram posts. Check out the blog. If you're not already following me on Instagram, I post every single day. If I don't post anything else, I post a devotional every single day in my Instagram stories. So make sure you're part of that. If you're not already, make sure you join the tribe, because when I'm not doing anything else, I'm definitely emailing the tribe. Make sure that you are part of the blog. All of that stuff is in the show notes. Last but certainly not least, make sure that you check out my YouTube. There is something that God wants to do there with that channel. And obviously, I am not the author or the finisher. I am just the writing. I'm a part of the story that God wants to make. And so I am going along with that story. And so I had to surrender and get to this point before I could actually come on here and speak and actually verbalize what I've been going through, what I've experienced, and what I had to come to a realization of. I am a successful servant leader, but it's not just about business. It's about every single aspect. And so, if you haven't already, of course, check out the YouTube channel. But this podcast is not just going to be about business. It is going to be about motherhood. It is going to be about relationships, which I can't even believe, because I'm just trying to figure out why God wants to push me into talking about something that I don't even know if I could talk about it yet. But I guess that's the beauty in it, right? That's where I didn't want to surrender, because I'm like, God, you want me to talk about these things? I'm not a pastor. I am not some 15-year-old wife. And when I say 15-year-old wife, I mean, like, I haven't been married 15 years. I don't have that much experience, I don't feel. There's so many things that I could say that I'm not. But what God has already told me I am, and what he's already qualified me as, is what I need to get into alignment with. We're going to talk so much about mindset and actually manifesting with Christ and partnering with God and not believing the lies, right? Like, I was literally believing the lies. And so that's why I could not surrender. I was believing the lies that I could not do this, that I was not worthy of talking about this, that nobody would want to hear me talk about this or that. And that's why I couldn't surrender. I just couldn't surrender. Like, I'm thinking in my head, in my flesh, let me stay within what's safe. And what's safe is to talk about business and business coaching and consulting, because that's what I know that's what I know, but I don't need to do nothing extra. And that's my comfort zone, right? And God is like, I didn't call you to stay into your comfort zone. I called you to be outside the box. I called you to step outside of your comfort zone. I called you to speak my word to the nations. I called you to speak my word to the multitude. I called you to help people who may not have a voice. I've called you to those people pleasers. I've called you to those people who don't believe they're successful in any area of their lives. I've called you to the servant leaders who are trying to even figure out what the heck that is. I've called you, and you need to answer the call, period. Because as we talked about before, if you don't answer the call, he's going to find somebody else to do the work, and you're going to be figuring out or finding out about it and saying, oh, they stole my idea. Like, no, God gave them the idea because you didn't do what he told you to do. And I only say this because I've seen it happen to other individuals, and certain things that he's told me to do, I've seen somebody else do. And I'm like, I never even spoke that out of my mouth. And how did they come up with that? Oh, because you didn't do what he told you to do when he told you to do it and how he told you to do it. So now he had to give it to somebody else. And I just don't want that. I just want to get to heaven, and I want to be like, well done, my good and faithful servant. You spoke to everybody you were supposed to speak to. You impacted everyone you were supposed to impact. And that's all I want to do, y'all. Is that too much to ask? Tell me. Somebody got to tell me. Is that too much to ask? That's all I want. And so I'm excited. And I hope you're excited as well. I hope that after listening to this, if you are new here, I hope that you decide to subscribe. I hope that you decide to stay around and join the SSL fam. If you haven't already, like I said, make sure you're following me and the podcast on social media, Instagram and Facebook at I Am Victoria Grace and at The Successful Servant Leader. Type it in Google. You'll find me everywhere. You'll find us everywhere. I guess we're two now. The podcast, Victoria Grace, whatever. If you want to be more into, you're into more of the video side of things and you're into that type of thing, make sure that you go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Life with Victoria Grace. And then I also have just my regular channel is Victoria Grace. So yeah, quick update, but short and to the point. And I hope that you guys understand. I hope that you're as excited as I am. So please stay tuned for the next few episodes. Actually, every episode, right? Share this with somebody. Leave a review if you feel as though you should leave a review. If you feel led to, leave a review. And I'm going to see you guys in the next episode.